and it says that I'm live. And I always have to have the other window open just to double check to make sure that this is. Oh, I think there's a delay. I always have to. Oh, okay, I see it. Cool. Cool. Yay! Episode 3, Pages to the Screen. I have a special guest host today, Miss Gabby. She is back. She's been on this channel before, and now she's showing up again because Gabby is also a reader. She's also a fan of TV and movies, and I always love talking to her about stuff in pop culture, and I always love hearing her insight. So, welcome, Gabby, to the show.
Thank
Yay!
you. I'm glad to be back.
So happy. Sam will be back, y'all. She's just having a very busy month. So Gabby's doing me a solid by doing this show with me. Um, but yeah, so the setup of this show, we usually talk about books that we have liked and that we want to see come to life on the screen, whether it's on TV or whether it's a feature film or a mini series or a limited series. What's the difference between those two, by the way? I still don't know. Um, but this time it's a special case because these two have already been picked up to be made into films. Red, White, and Royal Blue is currently filming right now. I saw them post. I saw the two main leads post yesterday that they're on set, so they are filming right now. So that's super exciting. And it happened when Summer was announced that they've created a screenplay and it'll be produced. And I think they announced this like 2 weeks ago. Tessa Bailey announced it on her social media, and it was like a huge hit on TikTok, which I didn't know about until after I had already read it. I think it has like 100 million views on TikTok, so it was like a massive hitter on that platform. Um, and I can see why, and which is super exciting. Literally, when I was reading it, I was like, this is such like a rom com that you would watch on TV. Like it needs to get. So when it was announced, I was not surprised at all. Um, as a matter of fact, I was like, yes, this is happening. Um, yeah, so I guess, I mean, I've already started. We'll jump right into it. We'll talk about, I guess it happened one summer first. So It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey came out in 2021, I believe. And I don't know, I should have done more research, sorry, but I don't know if it was like an initial, like a massive hit, like right away, or if it took like a few months. But I know that Tessa is popular. Like she's a superstar herself on TikTok. She's so funny on there. Um, and a lot of people fell in love with Piper and Brendan. So if you for those of you guys who don't know who haven't read the book yet, it basically follows the story of Piper Bellinger. She is this LA socialite who gets in trouble in LA. She gets arrested, goes to jail, and her stepdad has had enough of her shenanigans and ships her off to Westport, where she is originally from, because she actually has a bar there that was passed down to her and her sister. That and he It's basically a fish out of water story because this big city girl who goes to this little town, and she's the socialite, and she's very much into like the lavish things like shopping and nice clothes, and she is like that typical character. And when she gets there, she does meet this grumpy but hot fisherman, this fisherman captain named Brendan. And at first there is these sort of sparks that are antagonistic. He's very rude to her at first, which is always so annoying. I hate when the guy is being such a dick, but I like that she calls him out. She's letting him know that he's being an asshole. um, and then he recognizes that, let me stop being an asshole and start being more welcoming, because I don't want to represent my town by being this sort of um, being this mean person. So it does start off a little bit enemies to lovers, but I would say this is more so the opposites attract trope, because he is kind of like grumpy and like set in his ways, and he's so not about that LA life because he's like a small town dude. Um, she's very much the opposite of that, but um, as I said, he's very set in his ways, and she comes in like a freaking tornado and sets him off of his rocker and off kilter. But he ends up really leaning into that. He's kind of intrigued by her, and he wants to get to know her more. Um, I will say I do think that I find him. What I love about this book is that it kind of flips things around because Piper, being the socialite, doesn't take anything seriously, so that's why she shipped off there. She kind of acts that way in her relationship, so she's never had like a real relationship. She's used to just having like hookups, and that's what she thinks she's all good for. So once they get past being like enemies and more into like the friendly territory, um, he he kind of falls first. I'll say that he's kind of like freaked out by feelings and her feelings because Piper, not Piper, Brendan is a widow who has been wearing his wedding ring for like 7 years. So that's like the opposite of a hookup, right? So that right away, like she's like, yeah, I'm not this type of girl, but that one night stand, I'm your girl. So that's what for her, that's what it's about. So it is very much like the heroine is the commitment phobe in this story, and he's always trying to be like, but this could be something real, something that like I know that you feel it too. So for me, what I love the story is this it's it's this cat and mouse game that I really have been discovering that I'm into the opposites attract. I I like to see when the guy is chasing the girl, and that's very much what this story is. Um, and I like that he's like this man who recognizes, okay, actually live in different parts of the, well, not the world, but like he lives in California, and he recognizes, if I were to ask her to like give up everything, I'm asking her so much, like what is it that I'm going to be doing? What can I do to make sure that she feels good and happy here? So I like that like he recognizes that. He's also open to communication. I love that. Even though this book fall into a little bit of having, it's miscommunication, but I think it's miscommunication done in a good way. Because I think for miscommunication, that's a trope that you're going to see in most romantic stories and especially in most rom-coms. But I think this book did it in a way that didn't drive me too crazy, because sometimes some books can go overboard. But the reason that I think this would make a great rom com is because the dialogue is really funny. There were scenes that I actually laughed out loud while reading, and one of them has to do with the fact that Brendan does not know how Instagram works, so he's like downloading it because he wants to see the pictures that Piper has, because she's told him, I've got some sexy pictures on there. He's trying to download it, and his crew members are trying to help him find like a cool name, and he's just so out of his depth. And that's one of the examples that I like of like him breaking his routines. Like he's downloading an app just to see pictures of her because he just wants to know more about her life. Um so yeah, I think it's funny. I like how it's how the characteristics are kind of flipped, because usually in these sitcoms and these rom-coms, it's the guy who's kind of skittish about the relationship thing, and it's the girl who like wants that. But for this one, it's reversed, and that really kind of got me enthralled in the story, because again, I like to see when the guy is really in it, falls first, and is chasing the woman. And um and I know also Piper is based off of one of the characters in Schitt's Creek. I haven't seen the show, but Tessa had mentioned that she was watching it during quarantine, and I guess she was inspired by that character and created Piper. Um, so for Schitt's Creek's fans out there, this is kind of like, think of it as like a AU fan fiction as well. So I think that works there, and yeah, so I think they're smart and witty dialogue. And I will say also for Piper, even though she is like this typical LA socialite, I do like that. Ooh, there are comments. I didn't even see them. Sorry. Hi, Chris Dang. Yes, you have to read this one. It's a lot of fun. And I didn't even talk about yet the spice, but hold on. Because it's Tessa Bailey, so of course. But I like that she's this typical LA socialite, but I like that we get to see she is more than just that. It kind of also gives me more of like the Elle Woods. You know, like you typically usually just like judge this person, like you think you know what they're all about. Like they're like this air they're these airheaded uh bimbo characters. And I think those types of characters are actually kind of really relatable because it's always that classic judging a book by its cover. Oh, we have spam. It's always that classic judging a book by its cover, but oh my god, okay, I'm we're getting spammed. We're getting spammed. Putting this user in
Bound to
timeout.
happen.
Yeah. Um. So I like that we get to see more layers of her, you know, and Brendan also, what I like is that he recognizes that as well. Like he sees that he has misjudged her, and we also get to see Piper finding herself and discovering that she is more than what she thinks as well. Um, and I think there's like a relatable storyline there for sure. And I also love it when writers write more than just the romance there. So some writers will write heroines that have like a special like hobby or career and whatnot, like something that they are working towards. And that's definitely the story of Piper as well. You know, she learns that she can work hard and she can work towards stuff, and she also is like incredibly kind as well. She isn't just like this selfish person. She loves her sister so much and tries to take care of her sister. She discovers that she has like some members of her family in Westport that she visits and she takes care of, and she becomes friends with people. She helps people. She's also like incredibly kind and she's warm. So I really liked her character, and it's really like her story as well. So yeah, so those are my reasons why I would love to see this, and I'm so happy that it's happening. I know that there's a screen there's a screenplay written and that it is being produced, and I know that there's still extra steps for it to actually hopefully make it to the screen. So hopefully it does happen, and hopefully it makes it to a theater for select time because I would so go watch this in the theater. I haven't seen a rom com in a theater in a long time, so it's giving me like the nostalgic 2000 feels.
I was gonna say, I think we can make a case that this is already a movie because I think it by what you were telling me, it sounds like it's based on It Happened One Night, the Clark Gable movie, and he's
I
like in the
haven't seen that.
30s.
Uh-huh.
It is, yeah, it's about a socialite who like I think she's trying to escape her father, and she like meets up with this like reporter, and he's like, kind of like doesn't take her seriously or whatever, but they kind of like team up for like some common goal. I can't recall. I haven't seen it in years, but
Hmm.
it's really good. And it definitely has like that same dynamic, and I mean, because the title's almost the same, I was thinking like that could be like another inspiration. But I think the Schitt's Creek one I could see. Like I didn't notice that right away. I started reading this book the other night, but it is very much like she's very much like Alexis in Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
Um and yeah, so I'm excited to read more because I do love Alexis, and I
How
think
how far in are you?
only like a couple chapters. I didn't
Okay.
get that far, but I just like basically she's like about to get like shipped off.
Shipped off? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So excited for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Gabby, do you want to talk about your book that you chose?
Yeah, so Red, White, and Royal Blue. It's by Casey McQuiston. I think I pronounced her name right. I think this came out a few years. Oh, yeah, 2019, I believe. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's a really wonderful story. It's a gay romance between um, the president's son and one of the heirs to the British throne. So it's definitely a really fun rom com, kind of like you know having fun with sort of like our ideas of like American democracy, and also like our obsessions with the royals, the British royals, that is. It's about the story is centered on Alex, who's the son of the president. He's half Mexican and half white. His mom is the president, so And I believe in the movie that's coming out soon, it'll be played by Uma Thurman, and Alex will be played by um, what's the guy's name? I'm sorry. Taylor Zakar Perez, who was in the Kissing Booth movies. He was like in the sequel. Like, I don't know if you've seen those, but
The first one and not the sequels.
yeah. So he's like the new love interest in the sequels. He's like, I did like him. Like, I don't love the Kissing Booth movies, but like I thought he was pretty charming. So yeah, he's playing Alex, and basically he has like this like just some weird unresolved feud with Prince Henry, not Harry, Henry, from across the pond. And basically, like in the book, he Prince Henry kind of like dissed him at some events at the Olympics, and ever since then, like Alex has held this grudge against him, and he thinks like, that he's like this, typical stiff upper lip royal who thinks he's better than everybody, and he just can't stand him. And then when Henry's older brother's getting married, the president's kids are invited to the royal wedding, and when they're there, Alex and Henry kind of get into this brawl, and it makes all the newspapers, and now it's gonna cause like an international incident. So they have to like pretend to be friends in the public in order to like, you know, show that there's goodwill between the countries, I guess. Um,
So they like a fight, like a like what's
kind yeah, they argue. They're arguing over like just some kind of like misunderstanding, and then just like about their attitudes and all that, because like Alex is always mean to him, and then Henry's just reacting to him, Alex being mean to him, because Henry doesn't really know why Alex is mad at him. And I think the fight ends up happening because like Henry kind of walks away, and then like Alex like kind of pulls him, and then when they do it, they accidentally fall into like the wedding cake, which costs like 75 grand, and like caused like a big commotion, and made all the papers. And so yeah, it was like a big, it's kind of a funny scene. And so yeah, they're kind of forced now to like do all these events together and look buddy buddy. And so it's kind of weird because it's like it's sort of like playing on different tropes, right? It's like enemies, and then now it's like a fake friendship relationship thing, and then they actually become friends, and they have like a texting relationship because they kind of, in a lot of ways, they sort of understand each other because they're both in the limelight. They're both, the sons of something greater. And so over the months, you see like their texting relationship evolve, and um, eventually gets to a point where they realize that they're attracted to each other. So from the onset, Henry always knew he was gay, but Alex thought he was straight. But then he starts to get these feelings, and he realizes that maybe he's bisexual.
It's one of those stories. For some reason, I thought that like they were both openly gay.
No. So like you
Oh,
kind of read Alex at first, and I just by the way Alex acts, I guess if you want to like hone in on stereotypes, like you might think he's gay, but he actually doesn't think he's gay.
oh,
He thinks he's straight. He's always had, from what we know, he's always had straight relationships until we find out later in the novel that he had experimented
okay.
sexually with other guys. So, and he kind of dismissed it as just being like sexual and not necessarily like a made him question his sexuality. But now with these feelings for Henry, and after they have like this like heated kiss,
Mhm.
Alex starts to rethink like, well, maybe I'm bi. So yeah, so it's really cool because it's like it's sort of like a coming out story. It's like self discovery story
Okay.
as well as like a romance, and sort of then it kind of leads into like, okay, now these two are in a relationship, but they got to keep it a secret because like it will. I mean, Henry's in the closet because like for a British royal to be gay is like in this novel at least. I mean, and probably in the real world too. um it's a really hard thing to come out of, to come
Yeah.
out when you're gay. So like it's just like that kind of tension and struggle as they try to like one navigate this relationship as famous people, and then also as as it being a gay relationship. So it's a pretty long book. I reread it recently, and I was like, God, this is like a saga, but I love it. It's so well done. The chemistry is so great, and I think because one, you get to like sort of be there every step of the way as they like get to know each other, as they become friends, and as they sort of recognize these feelings that they have for each other, and it just comes across so genuine. And I think like sort of that's sort of what grounds it, because and I mean really it's like kind of a ridiculous book in the sense where it's like a president's son, it's a British royalty, like there's all these like really high stakes, like extraordinary situations that are kind of revolving around them, but it's like their relationship that like makes it feel very real. And in that case, like also I think when you kind of pair those two together, it becomes like very cinematic because it's like this grand thing, but it's also like genuine emotion coming through.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's I think it's also like a great book if you want to read more gay romances or you haven't really read a lot of gay romances before. I think this is like the perfect first book to read,
Mm-hmm.
to see if like one, it's something you like, which it probably will be because like it has all the same tropes that like the straight romance drama the genre has, and I think you'll find that it's like really just like worth the read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
In terms of like the coming out story, I'm guessing that that kind of is a lot of the story for like the second half of the book, or like.
Yeah, it's like kind of like the middle of it.
Mhm.
I don't want to spoil people, but there's this definitely like there is a part of it where one, Alex is like figuring it out, and then two, it's like does it come out or not? And him decide, them
Mm,
being in the situation they are, you don't really have a lot of control if you can decide when you want to come out or not.
mhm.
I don't want to like give details away.
That's interesting. Do you feel like we have a lot of coming out stories and not enough stories of like gay people just living their lives?
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of gay stories are like centered on coming out. I think like another popular one is like the book that Love Simon is based off of, which is like also really centered on coming out.
Hmm.
Um, Even then, like the spinoff show Love Victor is also like same kind of the same thing.
Hmm.
It's definitely I mean, it is a trope. I do think it'd be nice to see more romances that are just like gay to begin with, and it's not
Yeah,
even coming out. It's just about like
it was.
yeah, no, it's there is like a good portion of it of like self discovery and stuff, but I think it's like kind of I wouldn't say it follow. I wouldn't like compare it to like Love Simon and stuff, where it's like it seems like it's a sort of traditional coming out thing. It
Mhm.
really is a little bit more introspective, and like sometimes, like especially when you're bi, you may not realize that's something that you may not realize right away. So it's kind of nice to see someone discovering that about themselves. I think we don't see a lot of that in movies and books.
All right, I will give it a chance because I was looking forward to just because I thought it was oh, cool, like a gay romance, royals, president. These are like important people who were like out living their lives, but I didn't know that there was a coming out story.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. I mean, it's a part of it, but I think like there is the romance is still like the main thing about it. It's like this relationship between two people and like them being in an extraordinary situation of their own, and
Hmm.
how do they overcome that, because it's like all eyes are on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And do you feel good about the people who are making this movie? I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the same because I feel like the people who made the hating game are like making everything else. Is it the same team? I don't even know.
No, no. So this is from Berlanti Productions, which also made Love Simon. Greg
Okay.
Berlanti is like he's done like a lot of the DC TV shows like The Flash,
Huh.
um, and like a bunch of other stuff. So I feel, and Greg Berlanti himself is gay, so I think like his I think he's like this is like a good fit for
Yeah.
this movie. Yeah, and I mean, I think as far as the writer director, I mean, I don't really know much about him. I know he's like a playwright, and he's done like some work, on stage and
Mhm.
like on Broadway and stuff. But like, I am not like exactly familiar with his stuff. But as far as the cast, like, it's pretty exciting to see Uma Thurman. Like, I'm always a fan. Um, and to play the president, and then Taylor Zakar Perez is her son, Alex. And I think, like I said, I thought he was really charming in the Kissing Booth sequels, regardless how bad those were. And the guy playing Henry played the prince in Camila Cabello's Cinderella movie, which was also on Prime. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
you've seen
yeah. I
that.
did see that. I don't really remember his performance, but I was one of the people who actually did not hate that movie. I will say that.
Yeah, I did not like that movie. But like, I'm not going to lie, sorry to all the Camila Cabello stands. But yeah, I mean, I can't, and I also truthfully cannot remember his performance that much. I think like the prince is always the most boring part of Cinderella to begin with. So like, not necessarily his fault. But yeah, I did, what really like sold me is like Amazon like released this little clip of Taylor and Nicholas on set, and they're just saying, "Oh, we started production," and they're like kind of bickering, like,
Yeah,
um, yeah, like they actually there's like a thing in the book because like Alex is shorter than Henry. I think like a little like 5 inches shorter or something like that. It was like kind of like a running joke in the book,
mhm.
and they kind of played off that. So I was like, oh, this is so sweet, and you kind of got a sense of their chemistry a little bit. So I think that was a really good idea for one to put that video out there, and yeah, it got me really hyped because I'm super excited to see how they play the characters.
Cool. Well, we'll see how it all goes down. And in terms of the team who are working on that, It Happened One Summer, as I said, it is the same people who did The Hating Game. And I
Did you
apologize.
like that movie?
I was going to say, I apologize if you like this movie and you're watching this video, but I was not a fan. But I also did not read the book. But I know somebody who read the book who also didn't like the movie.
I read
Um,
the book and saw the movie.
did you like the movie? Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I didn't like love the book either.
Okay.
So yeah, I was like kind of like I thought the book was fine, and I
Mhm.
just decided to watch the movie because I was like in the mood for romance, and I was like, I'll just see what this is about.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that great. It was, I don't know. I mean, it kind of felt like a really sexier version of like a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, I saw it once. It was kind of forgettable for me. It didn't. I remember I kept asking like, well, why? 'Cause I'm always asking why. I never understood why. Like I understood why she hated him, and it's because he was like rude and hated her. But I don't know why he hated her. Like it's gotta
I
if
don't
you have
know.
enemies
I
to
don't
lovers.
remember in the book why they are so. I think it was just because he felt like I think he liked her right away, and it was kind of like those stupid like you kind of bully the girl you like kind of situation, if I recall correctly, or something along those lines. He just like I think by him showing that he liked her, it made him like vulnerable and like showed up his feelings. So like he wasn't, you know what I mean? You know that trope that
Yeah, it just didn't work for me.
yeah, it didn't work for me either. I
Um,
also felt like I don't know. I didn't really I thought they were really mean to each other in the book and in kind of in the movie too. That to me it was a little bit of a turn off. Just it was like God, like I don't
yeah, I mean, that's what's tricky about enemies to lovers, because it's like, at what point, like, how much are you supposed to be like falling in love with somebody who's like being super like rude and mean to you, right?
know.
Which, like I said, for It Happened One Summer, at least like they show like apologizing, and then they actually become like more friendly. Um, and then like, I mean, of course, the attraction is always there, but at least that has like some sort of like of a build up. So And so I'm like slightly worried, but only time will tell. And as I touched on it earlier, it is a Tessa Bailey book, so you're going to have like that Tessa Bailey spice, and what that means is there is dirty talk, and there's a lot of steam in this book, and I did not anticipate it. I think this was my second Tessa Bailey, which this is actually a duet. So I read the second book first by accident. I didn't know this book existed until after. So I was like, "Oh, Piper has a story. Bet I need to read it." And I will say the second book is more of like a slow burn. So it's not as spicy, but it fits the purposes of that story. And then for this one, I consider this really like my first dive into like what Tessa Bailey can actually do and write. Um, and yeah, it was a good amount of steam. I won't spoil. I know you're still reading it, and I know I have already spoiled some things, but I'll let you be surprised and enjoy the steam that's in there. And for me, I was just hoping. I was like, this is an opportunity to like make a mainstream rom com that's like really steamy. I just don't think those actually are around a lot. I mean, think about it. Any rom com that you watch, you might watch like the beginning of them having sex and then like the morning after, but like you never actually see a sex scene. You don't see that.
Yeah, it's mostly implied, I think, because they just want to like keep it in the PG-13 like range.
But my question is, what is the point of adapting Tessa Bailey if you're not going to have those scenes?
I agree. I mean, I've known of Tessa Bailey's books for a while. I mean, her books are known for, I mean,
Yeah.
for their sex scenes. I mean, she's published so many. It would make no sense if they did that. I think also too, just because of streaming
Yeah.
and like the way we're people now are watching movies, it's a lot easier to justify like an R-rated rom-com because like you could deliver it streaming and people are gonna watch and probably rewatch, right? Whereas like I think there's like a lot more fears if it was like a theatrical release and they're like, oh God, like kids need to come, we need to make money and get all the tickets and whatever.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I feel like I mean I would be very surprised if they decide to like PG-13 it because like you're right, like what's the point of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's my fear is that it's gonna be like really watered down,
Yeah,
because it is a rom com. But what I loved about this, it was a rom com, but it was like it was really steamy. Like I didn't know. I was not prepared, and I was happy about it because there's like there's like lots of dirty talk. There's like certain things that they do to each other that like you just don't see in a rom com, and I just I liked I like seeing it because like it's like Piper is all like she like she's has a lot of like agency over her sexuality, um and I like that like Tessa didn't hold back in writing somebody who's like a woman who's like she's like sex starved, and he's attracted to her and she's attracted to him, and they enjoy each other and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I even wrote it on that production team's Instagram. I was like, there's no purpose in doing this if you're not gonna write. If you're not gonna, there's no purpose in doing a Tessa Bailey book if you're not gonna put in the steam in there. Like, why are we
yeah,
here?
right. I feel like also too like Bridgerton has sort of broke the mold there and like proves that like people want sex scenes. So like
Yeah,
yeah, I think they have no excuse. For red, white, and blue, royal blue, there is some spice. There are some sex scenes. I wouldn't say they're as like detailed as Tessa Bailey's, but they're definitely like there and substantial. And I think like I this is like one thing I'm worried about. Like I don't know if the movie's gonna portray them or if they're just gonna have like those implied sex scenes, and be as like detailed and as graphic you can say as they are in the book. And I think that would be very disappointing because, like, again, we don't see gay sex a lot in movies. And I think that's just like, you know, something we deserve, right? So,
yeah,
like, um,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Like, I have no clue what they're aiming for here. Guess we'll find out.
yeah. For sure. And I think something that we always on here about representation. And for me, I've been reading more in the last few months and just reading about different types of like cultures, the different types of people and sexualities. You get to see a different perspective because, it's not every day that we get the opportunity to actually meet different types of people all the time. Like I learned about like chronic illness and I've learned about like asexual relationships and people who are like culturally different and just reading about different types of experiences I think can be like eye-opening, and I think that helps with people feeling empathetic or understanding. So I think it's worth to show that as well, and hopefully they don't hold back. They show us some good sense. Give it to us. Give it to
Yeah,
us.
I mean, they really have. I'm sure they have excuses, but they don't have good ones. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Well, we did it. I feel like that was like nice and easy breezy. Is there anything that you want to discuss about red, white, and royal blue?
No, I mean, I just said I'm still very excited for it. I really loved rereading it the other day, and I definitely suggest the audiobook. I at first had listened to it as an audiobook, so and that was really well done, and I think yeah, and I actually read it the last time. So yeah,
Hmm.
it's definitely something to add to your TBR list, especially before the movie comes out. I think one. Usually, I'm just like the movie should stand alone regardless of the book, which is true. But I think you would really get a lot more out of it if you read the book first.
Oh,
So yeah,
really? Interesting. Yeah. I also recommend you guys reading It Happened One Summer. It's a really easy, fun read. It's a feel good time. We all need moments to, escape and have like a joyful, feel good time. And it'll make you laugh. It'll get you steamy. It'll make you want some love. It'll make you download a dating app so you could find a Brendan, all that stuff. Um, and it was my first time reading about like a fisherman. I always love reading books where like somebody has like a non-typical job, like an uncommon job,
yeah,
and it made me and Cynthia look up how much they actually make, and he bakes.
that's a good idea. I never thought of like. Oh, sorry, you just made me think. I just turned like my editor journalist hat on and be like, oh yeah, we should write service articles about what the romantic leads in books make.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no, that's that. Hey, I'm happy to help with content.
thank you.
Yeah, so definitely add this to your TBR too as well. And Gabby, you must report to me once you finish and let me know your thoughts.
Yes,
Cause
yes, I am. Yeah, I do plan to finish reading it. Hopefully this weekend or something. While I'm in the middle of watching several different things. But yeah, I'll do it.
cool, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. And if you like this content and want to support, like the below says, hit the thumbs up. You can also find all of my socials below and all of Gabby's social. Find me on Goodreads. I have a movie club. I'm on the gram. I'm on the TikTok. I'm doing all the things. And yeah, we'll see you next month with a new stream with new books to talk about. And yeah, be on the lookout for your new content. Thank you guys for joining. Bye bye. Hit the thumbs up. Give me some likes because this algorithm's hard, y'all.